I'd like to call to order the meeting for Monday, March 18th for the Wilson School Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case,
Here.
Mrs. Denny,
Here.
Mr. Hart, Mrs. Casper,
Here.
Dr. Kennedy,
Here.
Mr. McCray,
Here.
Mr. McCree,
Here.
Mr. Schneider,
Here.
Mrs. Cocker.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Please stand for the posting of the colors by our JROTC. Okay, thank you to our JROTC. Our first communication piece is going to be a presentation from the Willy Wonka kids from Green Valley. And I believe you have, they have their teacher advisors that would like to have present a little information.
Well,
Thank
first of
you.
all, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time today. This little venture started last year with 2 of our teachers, Sandy Petersheim and Jen Richards, who kind of piloted the first Green Valley musical for 5th graders. And as you can see, it has just grown this year. So this is our cast. All of them are 5th graders at Green Valley, and they have been practicing since October, November. Every Thursday after school, they dedicate their time learning songs, choreography, lines, all that good stuff. And you can see the full show presented at Wilson West Friday, April 19th at 7 p.m. Tickets go on sale this Thursday. And we will be, I'm sure, publishing the link somewhere publicly. I guess we need to do that, huh? But we're just so excited for you to see their opening number. This is called The Golden Age of Chocolate. So enjoy. Thanks so much.
Chocolate,
Thank you very much for that amazing performance from our, I think, youngest group that performs in our theater. Bryce, you have some, talent coming up, so that's great. Very impressive. Yeah, parents, families, if you don't have to stick around. If you want to, that's fine. Otherwise, it's streaming online. So we're going to follow up a performance from some of our younger students with an amazing project from some of our high school students, our can structure project. I don't know if you guys want to come up and share a little bit about what is in the front lobby, which is an amazing accomplishment.
Hello, my name is David Ramirez Garcia. On behalf of the Wilson High School Hunger Fighters, we thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. A little bit about myself. I am a senior here at Wilson and a YVC volunteer for the past 4 years. I have been involved with Can Structure for 2 years, and this project has enriched my knowledge and helped me expand my love for the community that I live in. In many ways, it has also prepared me to transition into the major of aerospace engineering at Penn State University post-high school graduation. What is Can Structure, you ask? Can Structure is a structure building competition to fight hunger. Teams of Berks County youth compete in a contest to build incredible structures made from cans of food. Each team is responsible for holding its own food drive prior to the event to collect the cans for its structure, and all canned foods are donated to the Helping Harvest Food Bank following the competition. The theme for this year's competition is Around the World. Our team, the Hunger Fighters, have participated in this project through YVC of Reading for the past 6 years. We have grown through this project from elementary school all the way to high school, and this year is our first year with 3 separate teams representing Wilson. Our high school team, the Hunger Fighters, led by parent volunteer Antonella Worley, just won an award for Best Use of Original Labels and an honorable mention for Best Original Design. Our middle school team, the Junior Hunger Fighters, led by volunteer and teacher Kristen Hook, just won the award for Most Original Design and Most Educational Video. Last but not least, our elementary level team at Green Valley, Team We Can Do It, led by volunteer and teacher Helena Benetham, has not yet qualified for an award. However, we are incredibly proud of them for raising $267 and about 1,000 cans during their first year of participation. I am now going to turn the mic over to my fellow volunteers and teammates.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Martinez. I'm in 11th grade and I've been a YVC volunteer for the past 5 years and participated in Can Structure for the past 2 years. I have learned a lot through this project and can now see and understand how many people with food insecurity struggle in our community. This year, the theme of our project allowed me to expand my knowledge, and while doing research on worldwide food scarcity, our group learned that there are many differences and similarities in scarcity of hunger. For example, in Berks County, like many other areas, there are initiatives and organizations working to combat this issue and ensure that everyone has the access to the food they need. To our surprise, while we live in a nation that is believed to be rich, a large amount of people continue to struggle with access to nutritional food, just like other countries do around the world. Things such as food deserts, economics, illnesses, natural disasters, and unfortunately, international conflict impact or delay access to nutritional foods for both adults and children. Families impacted have had to learn how to ration both food and money to get through tough times. It is a blessing that we have the support within our community from Helping Harvest to ease people's burden during those times of need. I am also proud to be a part of the change, supporting others through this project and being part of making connections to solve hunger. Before passing the floor to Charlotte, I want to thank the Wilson School District for providing us the opportunity to build at the administration building this year. This has given us not only the chance to display our building skills to the community, but also the opportunity to educate staff and visitors, as well as administration, about this cause, which we, the Hunger Fighters, are very passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening. I'm Charlotte Arner. I'm a 9th grader here at Wilson High School. I was introduced to can structure when I was in 4th grade and have volunteered through this project every year for the past 6 years. I have a passion for can structure. This STEM project has taught me a lot. Through my own growth, I've been able to educate others on food scarcity and insecurity. For example, our very own field hockey team has supported this cause because of the education that I have been able to share as a result of learning and growing with this project. Tonight, it is an honor for me to represent our team, the Hunger Fighters, 16 individuals who have made it their mission to fight hunger for the past 6 years. In addition, I am eager to share that we started as one small team, and over the years, our group has engaged other young volunteers, siblings, and friends. As a result, we have grown to 3 teams district-wide, as David shared earlier. We, the Hunger Fighters, congratulate the Junior Hunger Fighters from Wilson West Middle School and Team We Can Do It from Green Valley Elementary for making a beautiful mark in our community. Both of these teams have put forth a lot of time and effort fighting hunger, and shortly after presenting our video, I will share some incredible facts about these efforts. Would you please play our video presentation? Thank you.
Hello, passengers. This is your captain speaking. The Hunger Fighters from Wilson High School is a humanitarian crew on board today. These 5 pilots and 11 passengers have made a mission of minimizing food scarcity in Berks County and throughout the world. So buckle up your seatbelt and prepare for takeoff.
Today we'll be flying our Boeing 737. Our plane is constructed of 862 cans. It is a vessel for our mission today. It is a piece of transport that represents how food insecurity can be solved across the world. Delivering food to food desert areas can allow people who live there to receive proper meals and nutrition.
As we prepare for takeoff, take a look outside your window and see the famous Washington Monument. This monument is made up of 86 cans and has 12 eighth-inch boards in between for support. More than 44 million people in North America suffer from hunger or food scarcity, and in 2017, 40 million people struggled with hunger in the United States. Now we're ready to begin our journey and flight around the world. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
As we ascended to the sky, look at the details around you. Our wall was made of 1,908 cans and is 7 feet tall, with each layer containing 106 cans. During our design process, we color-coded graphing schematics to colors of our cans. This was used on the front and back side of the wall to create sky and clouds. We will be arriving to our next destination shortly. Get comfortable and prepare for our flight to our destinations, which include South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia.
Our first destination is Brazil, which is home to the famous Christ the Redeemer statue. More than half of Brazil's population struggles with food insecurity. Food insecurity is when people have a lack of access to sufficient, nourishing, and healthy food. Almost 1 in 10 face serious hunger issues here. Our statue is made up of 94 cans and has a floating board. To allow the arms of the statue to stand, they have been cantilevered by the counterweights built into the wall. This board is connected to the main wall and helps support the arms and head of Christ the Redeemer. As we travel across the globe, next we will head to Ukraine.
Currently, Ukraine has faced many issues, including war, which has left many people struggling to get food. Many factors such as natural disasters, economics, and war affect food insecurity. War has left many people to become refugees and now live in constant state of uncertainty, as finding food can be stressful. The building shown is falling rubble due to conflict. The rubble is made of 183 cans standing at 5 feet tall. Everyone, look out the window as we travel to another section of Europe. We are coming up on the Colosseum in Italy.
We have arrived at our second destination in Europe, the famous Colosseum located in Italy. Our structure stands at 3 feet tall in a semicircle shape and contains 146 cans and 96 tuna cans. In Italy, an estimated 22% of people are at risk for food poverty or food insecurity. Now everyone return to your seats and prepare for takeoff for our 5th destination.
We have arrived to our final destination, the Pyramids of Egypt in Africa. Our pyramid is made out of 105 yellow corn cans and stands about 3 feet tall. In Africa, 1/5 of the population is undernourished and 55 million of the children under the age of 5 suffer with severe malnutrition. Now we're headed off to our final destination. Please fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
We are now at our final destination, the Itsukishima Shrine located in Japan. This shrine is made up of 74 cans and stands at 5 1/4 feet tall. In Asia and the Pacific region, more than 1.1 billion people did not have access to adequate food in 2020. And in fact, Southern Asia has the highest rate of undernourishment. Congratulations, everyone! We have completed our flight around the world. We will now be preparing for our flight back home, so sit back and enjoy the rest of the flight. We have now landed. Thank you for flying Hunger Fighter Airlines today. This year, our crew volunteered for a total of 650 hours and raised 5,117 cans, which adds up to a total of 4,558.7 pounds of food, or 2.279 tons. Our structure is made up of 4,000 unwrapped cans, and each component of the build has been carefully designed to make sure that these structures are stable. Each mini structure has 1/8 inch boards specifically cut to support the unique design displayed. We are also proud to announce that our team was able to donate an extra $1,350 to Helping Harvest this year. We would like to thank our sponsor, Performance Toyota, for making this build possible, as well as our friends, family, donors, and everyone else who has supported and helped us along the way. And a special thank you to Wilson High School and the Wilson School District for allowing us to build our structure in the gallery located in the administration building. Again, thank you for flying with us, and we hope you've enjoyed your flight.
Overall, this year, our team has raised 5,117 cans. We also volunteered for a combined 700 hours and will be presenting Helping Harvest with an additional $1,350 to purchase food for those in need. I am proud to announce that our 3 teams combined have donated over 13.9 tons of food and $6,243 over the last 6 years. Additionally, combined, we have dedicated 3,464 hours of volunteer time toward this cause. While we young volunteers have put the work in and learned a lot along the way, this would not have been possible without the guidance of our team leaders, YVC, all of the sponsors, and of course the Wilson School District Administration. Our hope is that we have impressed you tonight and that you will continue to support our growth throughout the district. We would love to see each building host their own can structure team next year. Please consider identifying and supporting one teacher in each school building who can lead groups of ambitious volunteers so that we may continue to grow this project district-wide and stop hunger in Berks County. Thank you for your time and have a great night.
And the board was able to have like a mini presentation and question session with the group prior to tonight's meeting, and just extremely impressed with all of your, hundreds of hours of volunteer work for this project, and like the actual engineering that it took to build the structure. It's very impressive. So thank you, and I love the idea of having a project at each of our buildings. I think that would be a great goal. So like you said, we just need teachers to be involved and everyone in our community to help out. So little plug for, since a lot of this is revolving around the Helping Harvest, for adults in our community, that I'm sure they're always looking for volunteers during the day if you have time in your schedule. And some businesses, like some employers will grant you a day, every once in a while to take work and go and volunteer. So motivated by our young volunteers, hopefully that spreads out further into our community. So congratulations and thank you for representing Wilson so well. And our last piece of communication this evening is our Wilson School District English Language Learner presentation.
Hello, everybody. All of you know who I am. I'm Ganji Kuchufo, and I have the honor and privilege of presenting our wonderful EL teacher team to all of you. So over the past few years, one of the things that's happened in Wilson School District and actually across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is we have seen a very strong spike in the percentage of English language learners that we have attending our school district. In 1819, we had 3.4% of our population as English language learners. In 2022-23, that was up to 5.1. So that's over a 1.5% increase for our school district. So moving into next year, one of the things that we are going to do is we're really going to dive deep into what our programming, our staffing, those pieces look like, so we can come with a very educated and efficient recommendation towards the end of next year as to what our EL programming looks like. We have engaged actually Mrs. Casper in some of these conversations, and Adolfo as well, to make sure that what we're doing in our schools meets the needs of every child. And obviously, EL falls in the teaching and learning department, but it also has a very special place in my family and my heart, because I am the son of an immigrant. I'm a first-generation American myself. So it is very important to me that we give our teachers, our students, as much support as we possibly can. But we also have to look at being an efficient and an effective model moving forward as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Krajewski, our lead learner for EL, and her and her team are going to go through a little bit of a slide deck for all of you.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to present our English learning program. My objectives tonight will be to discuss the current EL program. We'll focus on the levels of English proficiency and how it impacts our instruction, as well as taking a closer look at our elementary and secondary program. We'll share the current trends in our EL population and how it has affected our English proficiency levels. We'll also share our future projections for the 2024-2025 school year, as well as talk about some of the program supports and possible changes we might be able to make in the future. And then we'll end with a video. Okay, our current EL program consists of 12 EL teachers and 7 EL assistants. We provide support for 462 students. 382 are identified as English learners, and 44 are monitored. 5 of our EL teachers are bilingual, so we are able to provide Spanish support for our students and families. We have 36 languages throughout the district, and like Ganji pointed out, we have over 5% of our total student population that are English learners. When determining the type of support we provide for our students, we first look at their level of English proficiency. A level 1 is considered a beginner. This is a student where you might find would be experiencing a silent period, which could last up to 6 months. It is a student who needs lots of visual supports to understand the content, and they are using below grade level materials. A level 2 English proficiency is a student who is starting to use simple sentences. Their speech is characterized as telegraphic. You'll notice that they are using emerging words and phrases, and they, again, are continuing to use below grade level materials. A level 3 student is now able to use basic and short sentences linked together. They have expanding vocabulary, and because of that vocabulary, they are now able to start using some grade level materials, but with lots of support. A level 4 English proficiency level has a greater use of the academic language, which now allows them to use grade level materials with less support. A level 5 is now using grade level materials with and the expectation is that they can complete the assignments and work that is expected of their peers. After students leave our program, they are monitored for 2 years. At this time, our support shifts more from the student towards the content area teachers in order to provide maybe building background knowledge and other specific skills that those former Ls might need. During these first 2 years, if we notice that a monitored student is requiring additional supports, more that is typically required than of their peers, we can then reconsider to see if we need to return them to our L program. There are 3 different types of instruction that we use. Instructional instruction is when we instruct at the English proficiency level of the students. This allows academic content to be accessible and understood by our Ls. Push-in is when L instruction is provided by an L teacher within the grade level and content area classrooms. And pull-out is when our Ls are pulled from another classroom at a regularly scheduled time to provide ESL instruction in a different location. This slide is comprised of the common elements across our 5 elementary schools. Currently, we're able to provide 20 to 30 minutes of pull-out instruction for English proficiency levels 1 through 3. We provide 20 to 30 minutes of push-in for levels 1 through 3 in order to provide content support either daily or every other day. Cornwall Terrace is currently our only school that is able to provide 25 to 30 minutes of pull-out every other day for our levels 4 through 5. At the ESL level, we use the ESL series Reach Higher in combination with grade level curriculum. Our current program at the secondary level, some of the common elements in our middle school is that we provide 52 minutes of daily instruction per class period. We have 4 different ESL courses for levels 1 through 3. We also provide push-in and an ESL study for content support, and they use Inside as their ESL series. At the high school, we're able to provide 47 minutes of daily instruction per class period. We are able to provide a 94-minute block of time, and this instructional time is specifically for our level 1 students, and we're able to do that by scheduling 2 of our ESL courses back to back. We have 7 different ESL courses that are 1-credit courses, and they are available for levels 1 through 5. We also have 3 ESL support social studies electives that are worth 1 credit. We have an ESL study that provides content support, and the ESL series we use is EDGE. Our next slide shows the current growth trend that we are noticing across our 5 elementary schools. They're organized from the fewest L population up to our greatest numbers that we have. Our current trend at Green Valley is that they're typically at our lower end. Currently, they have 19 Ls. Our L teacher at that building uses 80% of her time to support our English learners and 20% to support speech. Whitfield and Shiloh Hills, their trend is typically similar in L population. Whitfield has 36 and Shiloh has 34. Cornwall Terrace and Spring Ridge have consistently been our higher numbers of English language learners. Cornwall Terrace is currently at 51, and Spring Ridge is at 79. These are our 2 elementary buildings that currently have 2 L teachers. And just again, Cornwall Terrace, because they have 51, that is one of the reasons why they are able to provide that additional support for the levels 4 through 5, and that's 25 to 30 minutes. Our next slide shows the trend in growth of L population at our secondary schools. West typically has usually half the number of Ls that we have at Southern. Currently, West has 36, Southern has 79, and at the high school we have 106. To give you a better idea of this growth trend that we're seeing, in 2006, I was hired by Wilson as the first full-time ESL teacher at the high school. At that time, there were 19 Ls. Like I said, we're now at 106. On our slide, there are our blue banners, and I just wanted to point that out, that these are our projected growths for the start of the school year. When we take a look at our projection for the next year, we take a look at the number of students like at elementary, kindergarten, and new move-ins. At middle school, we look at the number of new sixth graders coming up and new move-ins. And at the high school, we look at ninth graders moving up and are the newly ones that we will be screening. As you can see, our numbers are increasing. On average, we're seeing, each year, we're seeing 7 to 15 additional students. The Southern and the high school are our two secondary buildings that also have 2 ESL teachers assigned to them. And on the right-hand side of the slide, we're showing you another current trend that we're seeing. I mentioned that Green Valley and West are our 2 schools that normally have lower numbers, but we are now seeing a shift in the demographics in those areas. At West, from August to January, there were 60 new families that enrolled in the school. 26% of those families have identified another language other than English. Another example of the shift is taking a look at the ninth graders moving up. At West, typically we would have 5 to 6 ninth graders moving up. Next year, we are receiving 16 from West alone. The high school is, we already know that we are going to have an additional 36 students. We're anticipating starting probably with 144. This chart shows another trend that we see across the district. When I mentioned that I was hired in 2006, what we typically saw in 2006 and several years after is that the concentration of our English proficiency levels were higher in levels 4 and 5 with a few level 3s. For several years now, we have seen a shift where the higher percentages includes our level 1s, 2s, and 3s. So on the right side of the chart, you'll see our lowest percent is 75%, all the way up to 89% at Southern. So you want to keep in mind at the beginning of the presentation, these numbers, level 1, 2s, and 3s, are our students who are using below grade level materials and need lots of support. And this is why when you look at the instructional time, we are focusing on these levels in order to meet the demand that these students require. This slide takes a look at some of the program supports or possibilities that we might be able to put in place in the future as we keep seeing the demographics change. At the elementary level, we've discussed dedicating ESL-friendly classrooms per grade level. Currently, all of our Ls are spread out amongst the different grade level classrooms. One of our ideas is to limit the number that they're in. This would allow us to provide more push-in time in content areas and be able to provide more support for the content area teacher. Another area that we're looking at maybe expanding upon is there are school districts that start having the higher populations like Spring Ridge has. We would model this approach after what they're currently using. They have 1 teacher assigned to kindergarten through 2nd grade and 1 teacher assigned to 3rd through 5th grade. This would allow us as well to provide professional learning to those content area teachers. That's something that has not been put into place yet, but we are very excited and hoping that we can put that into place in the future. At the middle school, because the middle school is organized into teams, scheduling is very difficult. So one of the ideas we came up with is in the future is having an L teacher per grade level. Again, this would allow more push-in time for content support, as well as one-on-one collaboration with teachers and professional learning. At the high school, with an increase in staff in the future, we are looking into expanding the course offerings. We would like to add an additional co-taught English classroom. Currently, we have a co-taught English 10. We'd like to include English 9. We'd also like to add an additional writing workshop. When I originally came, our writing workshop was for levels 4 through 5. We shifted it with our lower proficiency levels in order to provide that 94-minute block. We'd like to add this writing workshop for 2 reasons. First, it is a way for our upper grade levels when they move in. They tend to lack the proper number of English credits to graduate. So this is an additional English course that they would be able to take in order to meet that graduation requirement. A second benefit to this is it helps our English learners who are going to continue their education post-graduation. So we're able to give them the skills ready to be successful in trade or college or university. And then the final idea we have is, with additional staff, is we would be able to push into content area classrooms. This is one thing that we are unable to do with our current staff level. What we're seeing is each year there are different content classrooms that have a higher concentration of English learners. So those would be the classrooms that we would have that ESL teacher pushing in. And then one other discussion we've been having is the fact that we do not have a specified caseload number for our Ls. So we've been looking at the few states that do have some policies in place. One state is Illinois, and they have their policy is not to exceed 30 English learners per one L teacher. And in Indiana, their requirement is that their number does not exceed 90% of what the general education classrooms provide. Okay. At this point, we'd like to have you meet some of our English language learners.
I love my teacher because it's helping me English. I love my school. It is so nice.
I love my school, Wilson, because there's so much diversity in the school. There are different people from all over the world that speak different languages.
Hi, my name is Samana. I'm in 5th grade. My teacher is Mr. Dietrich, and I love taking math tests, and I love spending time with him. I'm in 4th grade, and I love studying topics.
I love the teacher, so Wilson. The teacher is so nice to me.
School is also my second home. There are friendly teachers and friends here. There are wonderful teachers and good friends.
What I like about Wilson West is that we can learn more things in class. Like, for example, global studies, math, art, music, things like that.
What I like about the school, I like the sports. I like to play football. I like to play. I like to about the school, like the classes. I like basically I like
Miss Tanyani, I like the Wilson West Middle that I can play with my friend. Yeah, I can do activity for my teacher. I have a great time.
I like Wilson West because I joined the football team. I play on defensive line. I like ESL because when we work hard, we can have a fun day. I also like to spend time in the library.
I love to learn how to be a wide receiver.
What I love learning is culinary arts.
Hola, profes. Muchas gracias por enseñarme a hablar inglés. Muchas gracias por dedicarme tiempo para poder hablar inglés. Y también les quiero decir que los quiero mucho. Recuerdo esos momentos. Y I say thank you, everything, teachers. Thank you for giving me time for know English. And thank you for show me how to speak English. Bye.
Hola, buenas noches. En nombre de la familia de Jerónimo, nosotros como padres damos las gracias a todos los integrantes del colegio que han hecho posible el desarrollo integral del niño, respecto también a lo que es el idioma inglés, aprender a expresarse, a comunicarse de buena manera. Eso nos ha servido para tener una mejor comunicación con los docentes. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, teachers.
Love to learn. Love to work. Love to live. Go with that.
So again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present. I don't know if you have any questions.
I just want to comment, if that's okay. First of all, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation and for just being able to expose everything that we're doing for our English learners and this population that's growing so fast. I also, as part of my role in the Literacy Council, with the Literacy Council here at, in Reading and Berks, I teach an adult ESL class to our Wilson community families. And every year since 2019 that I've been teaching it, we're honing in more and more on just the families here at Wilson. And I have to say, in the last year, my class continues to grow. And I know I've talked to Ganji about this. And Adolfo, who's fairly new to our district as a position, has now been certified in English Forward, which is a basic ESL, adult ESL curriculum to teach beginning ESL to some of our adults. And he's hoping to open up another class within the district to hopefully help me because my class is really starting to expand. And what's interesting is it's all aligned with the data that you shared here in terms of the buildings that we see the most growth, as well as even some of the languages. The two languages that I see growing the fastest in my class is French and Creole. So the majority of my students now are French Creole speaking. And what's interesting is that many of them are coming not just with one other language besides English, they're coming with multiple languages. So there is a term now that we're using more in higher ed where we're talking about multilingual learners rather than English learners, because many of our kiddos are not just learning English, they're also learning their other languages at the same time. So I think it's important to kind of look at these other languages, and as I know our EL team does, is really utilize them as a tool and not a deficit. In terms of looking at English as not being something that they necessarily have a deficit in, but rather that their languages are going to assist them in gaining that English. So they're actually, as we saw from your video, which was so great, that they're learning more than just English. You know, they're clearly bringing and keeping their language. They're able to continue to utilize that language. And I think that's really an important thing that we need to continue to do at Wilson is to support our families in maintaining their language at home as well. And what's interesting is some of the students that I just met who registered for my class recently, who have one family from Guinea. The father is actually proficient in English, French, Arabic, and Creole, and teaches English in his country of Guinea. So I'm trying to recruit him to help me teach English. So we have, you know, a vast array of background knowledge in terms of language that we can certainly utilize to gain English here with our students. The other thing I wanted to recognize is since Mr. Stanger is here, and I was able to read to some of our EL students at Green Valley during the Read Across America week with a bilingual book, and I had my writing on my T-shirt that was completely in different language. So I think it's important that we are modeling for students that their language is something that's valuable, and that we're going to utilize in our instruction as well to help them access English. And I think that's all I wanted to say, but thank you so much for the lovely presentation.
You're welcome.
Being a support staff in the cafeteria, is it okay if you come up, just so we can hear you, but.
I've got a loud voice. I'm in the cafeteria, and I've had to do Google Translate for Creole because we're asking a student, ¿habla español? No. Somebody else says, do you speak French? Yes. Then you think, okay, then somebody speaks French. Does you speak French? No. Do you speak Spanish? Yes. And then realize, okay, it's Creole. So I did some Google Translates to help them when they come to the register to say, you have to have money for this, or whatever, the couple things that I can at least bring it out so they can read that. That would help us to know languages. I mean, some of us can speak some other languages. I do not know Creole, but I can do Google Translate with a phrase and have them read that. Because that's the only language that we've run into that we have had difficulty with. But knowing it through all the support staff will help the student also.
No, I think that's a great point. So in case, just because the video streaming, in case anybody wasn't able to hear it on the video, so the point is, no, it's okay. The point is that our staff, support staff, classroom, regular education classroom teachers, while they may have extra language in their background, it may not be the language for our students. So maybe like a hints or like a little cheat sheet for teachers and staff to say, okay, here are some common phrases that our students who speak French, our students who speak Spanish, our students who speak Creole, which I know is an emerging language in our area. Just some phrases that we could use, and maybe the response we get is more than we can understand, but just instructional phrases just to kind of guide them so that they understand. Because my personal experience, I teach a lot of students where English is not their first language, but Spanish is, and their classmates speak Spanish. Super helpful. So I'm like, okay, I can speak a little bit, here are your instructions. Can you, classmate, help them understand what I just said? But like the emerging languages like Creole, there may only be one student in that class that speaks that language. So that makes it more complicated. To have like a little cheat sheet for the teachers would be really helpful. So yeah, thank you for that suggestion. And Google Translate as a tool. So, and like Mrs. Casper said, it's not a deficit. It's an advantage that the students who we have in our EL program, the goal, obviously, is when they graduate, they'll be proficient in at least 2 languages, one of them being English. So we can't say that about all of our student population. So students that take a second language, that's great, and once they get into that program, kind of understand how difficult it is to learn that second language. And a lot of us just take for granted that, well, our first language is English, and that's what everybody speaks, so we're good, and I'm going to try and learn the second language in high school, and, if I can have a minimal conversation with someone in it, that's great. But for our students who are coming into our system and not having English as their first language, that is really difficult for them to have, basic conversations with people. So just to have a little empathy and keep that in mind, I think that would be, maybe introduce some other languages to our younger learners too, so that they can understand what their classmates are learning and going through. Just an idea. So thank you for that amazing presentation.
And I wanted to add to that, when we're talking about like oral language proficiency, just because a student sounds proficient in a language does not necessarily mean they have the academic language. So they're still going to need support in the classroom, and instruction has to be, tailored to the students' abilities in terms of academic language and accessing academic language. And again, because a lot of our students are multilingual learners, they're not always going to be at the same level for all the languages either. So I think that's a really important thing to remember, especially in our age of multiple languages, and Creole being a pidgin language is already a language that is combined, that is 2 languages already combined. So we have sort of the span of a variety of languages. So I think it's important then for us to make an effort to also think about how much exposure we're having to other languages and reach out and try to learn a little bit of other languages so that students are able to, so we're able to communicate with students and their families as well.
Mrs. Denny?
I just wanted to add on to that I think having the EL students especially in the elementary school and the regular classrooms, is so important for the English-speaking students. My son had a Spanish-speaking student his first grade year and a Vietnamese-speaking student his third grade year. The Vietnamese boy he was assigned as his buddy. And it was such a positive experience because he would come home and he'd say, "Mom, can you look up how to say random words in Vietnamese?" And then he would go in the next day and try to say it, and his friend, I would say, "What did your friend say?" And he said, "He laughed at me," but it was like a good laugh, you know, and I think he really appreciated reaching out, and I think it helps these kids that are coming into a culture that is so foreign have these buddies in the classroom, and it helps the kids that are English speaking understand a different culture at a very young age. So I applaud you for the work you're doing, and want to encourage you to continue to have the teachers involve the other students in the process.
I just wanted to say a couple of words. Thank you, first of all, for sharing, educating myself, and I think this goes a long way to educate the community and anyone who's watching that video about putting faces of kids to the challenge that we have at Wilson. It's an investment in kids. You know, that's what we're here for. So, you know, I know there's challenges of foreign language teachers as it is, let alone I'm sure bilingual teachers. I couldn't imagine trying to come, you know, and learn English and math and social studies at the same time. So it is quite the challenge, and it's a great educational video and touches the, you know, the heart of what we're here for. So I just want to thank you for that. And I guess we have some work to do from an investment perspective, and you know, and hopefully, you know, we have full support of the community and everyone involved. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now into the actual meat of the meeting. Yeah. Mr. Maravich, we, non-agenda. Okay, so you don't have a solicitor announcement otherwise, okay. So we do not have public participation on agenda items this evening. Well, we didn't have an official executive session. We did have an informational session prior to tonight's meeting regarding future curricular impact that is coming down the line in regards to possible legislation. It was just informative for the board to be aware that things could be coming down the line. We also had an informational meeting last Wednesday evening about our construction timeline, which I would like to pass to Dr. Trickett to kind of share a little background.
Thank you, President Cocker. And again, just thank you to our 7 EL teachers who were here. That represents half of our entire EL department. So you can see the passion that they have serving the children that they serve in the school district. And just the last piece to add on to that before I dive into my information update is we're also, that's a plea for the community, we're trying to hire folks who are multilingual and bilingual. So that is a strategy that this team is committed to doing, to engaging with and trying to recruit people in our organization who can help us meet the goals of the organization and most importantly meet the needs of students. So calling everyone in the community, if you have some additional skills that you feel that would serve our students and their families, please reach out to our HR department to make sure that we're connecting with each of you. In relation to the construction timeline, I appreciate a couple of minutes here. Last time we spoke to the board and the community, a couple of times actually over the last few months, we have presented and talked through the Lincoln Park project in a very in-depth way. Specifically, my update tonight has to do with the final completion date that we have been presenting. So we have presented a target duration, or a completion rather, of July of 2026. Unfortunately, tonight, I need to release publicly that we are not going to meet that deadline or that timeline. We have learned recently of some additional hurdles, I'll call them, or speed bumps in our process, some of which relate to the construction permitting process, and some others that are just making us slow down our approach slightly for the Lincoln Park and the Southern Middle School project. So today, we do have an updated timeline that we will release in the near future on our website, likely this week. And what that timeline will show is that we're extending the design phase of this project, which will likely bring the bidding process, assuming everything goes well, back to the board. And there will be another decision point before that. However, we will ask the board to consider going out to bid roughly 12 months from today. So that is roughly 6 months longer in the design phase than we had initially presented to the board. What that means to our community, to our kids, to our teachers, and our families is that we will not be proposing opening Lincoln Park Elementary School until the next summer. looking to bring our staff on board in the summer of 2027, and having the students enroll and obviously start in August of 2027. However, the building is planned to be constructed and completed in early spring of that year. We do not feel that it's in the best interest of our kids and our community and our families to move students into the building mid-year. So essentially, it'll be a one-year delay in occupying the building with our students. So again, more information will be forthcoming. I did brief the board last week on this information, and we'll be updating the timeline and posting it both on the district website as well as our construction website, which is linked right off of the right-hand side of our landing page of the school district website.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. It brings us to approval of minutes. Request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on March 4th, 2024. Looking for a motion for 2.1.
Denny.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
McCree.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the treasurer's report, investment report, general and capital funds, financial reports as presented.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion for 3.1. Do we have a second?
Case.
Denny.
Oh, Case.
Second.
Mr. Case, thank you. It was a race. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Payment of bills, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the payment of bills as presented from the general fund, $2,635,871.43. From capital reserve, $69,026.80. And from the 2021C construction fund, $1,466,456.68.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion for 4.1. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper? Dr.
Yes.
Kennedy?
Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Financial reports, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the financial reports for the month of February as attached, specifically the cafeteria and childcare funds, along with the activity counts for Southern Middle School, Wilson West Middle School, and the senior high.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion for 5.1. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Abstain.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstain.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you. Inclusive of the report this evening, there's quite a variety of different things to talk about. I'll start with the retirees. Mr. Buckley, who we have heard from at this podium a couple of times over the past few years, will be retiring after 18 years of service to the Wilson School District as an hourly teacher. We do have some resignations as well as end of service on here. We have some teachers that will be leaving us for a variety of reasons, support staff members, as well as Sam DeGroff, who is a very valued member of our technology department. We wish all of these people who are leaving for a variety of different reasons, including some career and personal opportunities, the very best, and are hopeful that they stay in touch with our Wilson family as they move on to the next chapter in their lives. Again, we have some child rearing leaves this evening. Congratulations to all those expecting parents. And just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about item 6.7. We have talked in our HR committee and at the public board meeting quite a few times about the desire and the need to change our hiring practices to ensure we're getting the best people here on our team. And I'm very happy to report we have quite a few people on the list tonight under the professional hires section. Specifically here, we have some of our friends with us. Jamie Raffoff, if you could stand up for us, please, Jamie. It's very good to see you. Welcome home, as I said to you earlier in the email. We have Victoria Rhodes. Hello, Victoria. Victoria is here supported by her father, Steve Rhodes, who many of you already know. Both Victoria, Tori, and Jamie will be teaching 7th grade math for us next year. Tori will be at West, and Jamie, I believe you're going to Southern Middle School. So thank you very much, and welcome to both of you. And then the last person we have is Emily. And I want to talk about Emily just for a moment. Emily will be a new graduate here locally at Alvernia. And not to make you blush, but we've been in frequent communication with her over the last few weeks here. And Emily was the very first person at our job fair at Millersville University. She does not go to Millersville, but the very first candidate, followed up with incredible email communication, comes very highly recommended not only from your university, but also from your current cooperating teacher. So we are very excited to get you as well, Emily. And Emily will be teaching special education at a yet-to-be-determined capacity, but we know you're going to be an excellent educator, and we're glad that you chose to make Wilson your forever home. So welcome to all of them, and welcome to the other folks that are also on the agenda who are not able to be here, including Courtney Wilkes, who is a Wilson graduate who will serve as an LTS for us.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Looking for a motion to approve superintendent's items 6.1 through 6.9 as presented. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Dr. Kennedy.
I just would like to give Mr. Buckley a shout out. He is a huge loss for Whitfield Elementary. He is there because he wanted to be there, not because he had to be there. He was a wonderful parent when his kids went through. He's a wonderful teacher. He's really a big part of the heart and soul of that school, so he's going to be sorely missed, but I wish him well.
Agreed, and if I could just follow up with that, as Dr. Trickett said, Mr. Buckley has been at the podium many times, and I don't know if everyone remembers the Wonders program project at Whitfield, and he was one of the lead teachers, again, as an hourly teacher, part-time, doing it because he wants to just be part of the Whitfield family. So hopefully he comes back and volunteers and still can make an impact, because I know he's had an impact on both of my kids, so he will be missed. Okay, we have a motion. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Denny, yes.
I just want to say how excited I am about all the new hires, especially about Mrs. Raffoff, and to have a husband-wife team. The Raffoff family, I'm big fans of the whole family. Mr. Raffoff's grandfather, Mr. Alan Raffoff, was a longtime school board member and was one of the most influential people in my life. A large part of my Christianity is owed to him, so he is a very important person in my life. And now my daughter has Mr. Raffoff as a teacher, and he has been very influential in her life, in my daughter's life. And now to have this husband-wife team, we're very fortunate. But I think it's worth noting the number of graduates, Wilson graduates, that come back to our school in terms of a place that you love to live, you love to work. That's Wilson. We don't just have a number of Wilson graduates, we have a number of second generations. This agenda and the last agenda, we had daughters of mothers who are in teaching or positions at Wilson. So it's 2 generations. So these children, these women went to school here, their mothers taught here, and now they're teaching here. So I just think that really says a lot. I don't think you see that at many school districts. So we should be very proud of that legacy.
I just want to say thank you as well. It says a lot that you're coming out on a Monday night and spending time with us. You didn't have to be here, but it says a lot, and welcome to the Wilson family. Appreciate it.
Any other comments or discussion from the board for superintendent items? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes?
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Yes, welcome. On to ratification and approval of field trips. 7.1, request approval of the following field trip. 27 middle middle school and high school indoor percussion students from May 1st to May 5th for 2024 for the TIA Atlantic Coast Championship in Wildwood, New Jersey. 7.2, request approval of the following field trip: 35 high school treble, choir, and string quintet students, April 17th through April 19th, 2024, for the PMEA In-Service Conference in Erie, Pennsylvania. 7.3, request approval of the following field trip: 98 West Middle School 6th, 7th, and 8th grade chorus students on April 10th, 2024, to see Wicked in New York. And 7.4, request approval of the following field trip: 16 AP Environmental Science and AP Bio students to Chincoteague Bay Research Station in Wallops Island, Virginia, April 12th through April 16th, 2024. Looking for a motion to approve field trips, items 7.1 through 7.4.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have any discussion? Dr. Trickett.
President Cocker, just taking everyone's attention to 7.2 and the public content of the board agenda item, I just want to highlight that this is the first time in the history of the Wilson High School that we've had students who have qualified for the PMEA convention. So a very storied past here in our school district, and again, that's students in our treble choir and our string quartet. Just want to highlight them. They're amazing students, led by amazing teachers, and just really honored as a school district that they were selected to attend.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Any other discussion for field trip items? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Under Human Resources, request approval of the referral bonuses as attached. Looking for a motion for 8.1.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, other than if you are an employee and would like to recommend a friend or family member to also work here and encourage them to do that, you can also qualify for a referral bonus. Just a little plug. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case.
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Student Services, 9.1, request to renew a contract with Capstone Academy for one special education student for 2024 extended school year services at a cost of $12,836.50, beginning 7/8/24 and ending 8/9/24. 9.2, request approval of a resolution approving and adopting a student discipline waiver and consent agreement dated February 28th, 2024. 9.3, request permission to contract with New Story for one special education student for 2023-24 school year services at a cost of $425 per student per day, beginning 3/4/24 and ending 5/29/24, or last day according to school makeup days. 9.4, request permission to enroll one foreign exchange student for the remainder of the 2023-24 school year. And 9.5, request permission to waive tuition as per Board Policy 202, eligibility of non-resident students for 3 students. Looking for a motion to approve student service items 9.1 through 9.5.
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Technology and Media, 10.1, request approval to contract with TWG Security to upgrade all district security cameras and door access controls for a total cost of $1,700,218.43 using capital funds. Looking for a motion for 10.1.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Discussion.
I'd like to.
Yes,
say
Mrs. Casper.
I just wanted to, first of all, say that I completely am supportive of a complete overhaul of our security system in our schools. even at this hefty price, I am in no way against student safety. I do hope, however, that this measure comes with supplemental strategies to connect with our students and our surrounding community that is growing and shifting rapidly in our demographic. We've talked a lot about how school safety goes way beyond just the physical safety of our students and should also consider students' sense of belonging and integrating our local community within our schools. We also know from the research that increased technological and other methods of school surveillance strategies tend to disproportionately target students from our most marginalized communities, leading to such outcomes as an overrepresentation of students of color in school disciplinary systems. And school districts like Wilson is not exempt from these types of outcomes. So unfortunately, I was not able to attend the joint committee meeting on February 20th with the vendor for this security system. And I appreciate Dr. Hoffert's presentation at the last board meeting. And I see that it's going to be it's going to be phased in, so it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you, President Cochran.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Other comments from the board? Discussion? Okay, I would just like to point out from the financial side, under 12.2, later in the agenda, we are transferring funds from capital reserves, to capital reserves, and then the total, or some of the total from the project is coming from that amount. So as we said before, it is a one-time infusion of money, and for this project, one-time infusion out of capital reserve. So I think it's a responsible way to use the funds that we received. And obviously, the outdated equipment and technology that we currently have will be updated. But to Mrs. Casper's point, how we use it is also important. So we need the technology and hardware, but then how we use that within our system, I think is a discussion to definitely have. Any other discussion points for this topic? Okay.
I would just add, if anyone wanted to hear my comments, they were said at the last board meeting. There was a great presentation. So if you're just coming in onboarding now or on-ramping now, go to the last board meeting and please review. Thanks.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Case. Okay, roll call, please, for 10.1.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Operations, 11.1, request approval of a contract for Cornwall Terrace Elementary School with Bounce House Rentals of Lancaster, LLC, for the rental of an inflatable attractions and generators as attached. 11.2, request approval to use About All Floors for work with the high school auditorium project as attached. 11.3, request approval to use R&F Excavating for work at the high school tech ed area using capital funds. 11.4, request approval to use R&F Excavating for work at Southern Middle School using capital funds. And 11.5, request approval to use Fox Country Sheds to purchase a shed for high school tech ed using capital funds as per attached. Looking for a motion to approve operations items 11.1 through 11.5.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 12.1, request permission to submit 6 delinquent accounts to the Berks County Tax Claim Bureau. 12.2, request approval to transfer $3,418,875 to the Capital Reserve Fund related to the 2023-24 one-time net revenues received in the general fund. 12.3, request approval of the budget transfers dated February 16th, 2024 through March 13th, 2024, as attached. Looking for a motion to approve finance items 12.1 through 12.3.
McCray?
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case.
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under policies, we have a second reading of the revised board policy number 622, capital assets, which will be voted on at our next meeting. And under miscellaneous, our enrollment as of March 14th, 2024 is 6,475 students, which is a decrease of 13 from the previous report in February. Which brings us to our committee reports. BCTC, Mrs. Casper.
Thank you, President Cocker. I do not have a report at this time. Since our last meeting, we have not met. I believe our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 27th.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Dr. Kennedy, for your reports.
None of these committees have met since last time, so I have no reports. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlosman. Okay. Well, I guess I am the first report. The extracurricular committee did meet last Monday at noon. Excuse me. We discussed the addition of, sorry, one second. The addition of another upcoming account for a club. The club already exists, but in order to, in the high school, in order to have any sort of fundraising for your group, you have to have a student account. So that will be coming soon. For Making a Change Club, which is based on fundraising and philanthropy. So we can't, obviously they need an account to fundraise. So it kind of goes hand in hand. As well as the class of 2027 class activities, which is just not ready for that yet. We also have very exciting news, and I believe it's able to be shared publicly since it's on our minutes, but our own coach, Roy Snyder, is going to be inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame, which is a huge honor, and I don't know that we have any from Wilson that have ever been inducted. So there are some from other Berks County, but not ever in Wilson's history. So I mean, he's a staple in our community and is basically the reason for our swimming program. So it goes to, it's a natural award. So, but we're very proud. And the ceremony will take place in Boston in July. So, and he's one of only 11 inductees for this class. So very proud. Just wanted to publicly announce that.
President Cocker.
Yes.
Do you mind if I?
Yes, go
jump in
ahead,
on
as
that?
you were one of his.
As someone who was coached by Coach Snyder, I'm one of literally generations of people who he has coached and reached at not just an athletic level, but strong moral character building in all the people that excuse me, have gone through his program. So this is an honor that is well deserved. So I'd just like to congratulate him too.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. And so that was our big news. We also have an update that our hometown ticketing will be live for our March 16th. I believe it's lacrosse. Okay, I didn't want to. So our first lacrosse game. And the tickets will open a week prior to the event if you want to try out ordering tickets for our sporting events online. As well as one of our goals moving forward is to try and see how we can build an intramural program for all of our athletes because we have a ton of students that try out for sports, and we can only take so many on our school team. So working on building an intramural program. And our first sport is ultimate frisbee. So I believe I saw them practicing on the practice football field the other day after school. just sounds like a lot of fun, and it's been perfect weather for it. So that is that's our update and our report for extracurricular committee. Mr. Case, facilities.
Thank you, President Cocker. There wasn't a meeting, but I'll just provide a quick highlight of what's going on with the auditorium project. This week, there'll be a new large segmental retaining wall that's going to be installed at the base, and the base paving of that area will be this week as well. Some sea containers are going to be coming, arriving, if not today. Were they here today, the containers? Very soon, okay. Which is going to be a bunch of storage for all the things that are part of the stage that are worth saving, which will then be moved to the other end of the parking lot. The Fallen Heroes plaques and the memorabilia have been removed and safely stored in the JR OTC room, and several sections of seats have been removed to be auctioned off, and there was a set that was auctioned off at the Iron Chef. And the auditorium is set to be completely turned over to the contractors by our scheduled date of March 22nd. The next facilities meeting is April 8th. My company's, that's our go-live date for our ERP system, so I may be in Florida that day, just FYI. I'll take the call remotely, so anyway, that's it. That's the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Finance Committee, Mr. McCray.
No report.
Legislative, Mr. Schneider.
Exciting news is that the House will be returning finally after whatever it is, 3 months or so of not having voting sessions. I guess the construction project is finished in there, so they will be returning. And we are, of course, moving into the heavy education legislative season of budgets. So we'll have to see. It's a wait-and-see game for us about how the negotiations go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Mr. Hart is not here for Human Resources. Mrs. Casper, do you have a report for Human Resources?
No, I don't.
Okay, just checking. Thank you. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple of items to report. First, one way that our community can recognize our amazing team of professional educators is to nominate a teacher for the Wilson Extraordinary Teacher of the Year Award. We've been having this award for a number of years now, and anyone can nominate a teacher for the honor. We select 2 teachers each year. Actually, Sun Federal Credit Union selects 2 teachers each year, and each receive a $1,000 award, $500 from Sun Federal, and $500 from the Wilson Education Foundation. The link to the application form is posted on our district website, and the nominations are open through the end of April. The winners are announced at the end of the school year, and then they are publicly recognized at the Wilson Education Foundation Bash event in the fall. So we want to thank Sun Federal Credit Union once again for sponsoring this great program. We also like to report that the Wilson Middle School Career Fair was an overwhelming success again this year. Over 500 8th grade students had the opportunity to hear from over 70 professionals about the many different career options available to them. Again, this year we had a great mix of professions, from trades to construction, medicine, finance, and so much more. Once again, we are so grateful to Alvernia University for hosting us on their beautiful campus. And we want to thank everyone who contributed to making this career fair successful yet again this year. But a huge special shout out goes to the middle school counseling team for their leadership of this important event. Last week, 4 middle school students from our Berks County Championship Math Counts team participated in a 30-minute interview on BCTV where they talked about their preparations for the state competition. So you can actually catch their interview on BCTV on March 21st at 6:30 p.m. And we want to thank their coach, Mrs. Viscarello from West Middle School, and Dr. Handy Hoffert for accompanying the students to the studio for their TV debut. I happened to be there as well, and they did an amazing job. It's not easy to sit for 30 minutes, and it's kind of like a live interview, and to be interviewed for 30 minutes. So they did an amazing job. We're super proud of them, and we wish them the best of luck as they move on to the state level competition. And then finally, we recently sent a mailing to the Wilson community promoting our district communications channels, and we're pleased to report that in 1 week after that mailing went out, our Bulldog Blitz signups did increase by over 250 individuals, which was great. So if you have not yet signed up for the Blitz, visit our district website so you can receive up-to-date information about everything happening here at Wilson. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
Thank you. the Iron Chef was yesterday. It was a great community success. I have to say, it was wonderful. I just want to thank the community for coming out, all the restaurants, and my gosh, the caterers, the food trucks, and the food carts. I mean, it was over the top. I left absolutely stuffed. I tried iced coffee for the first time, so I have enough of a coffee addiction now. I have a daytime iced coffee addiction to add to it. So. B2 Bistro won the People's Choice Award. They had raw tuna. It was delicious. Everyone loved it, and it was just a great time had by everyone. Big shout out to Molly and Darcy and the Education Foundation. They just hit it out of the park. It is a lot to organize and build those relationships with all the vendors and everyone that comes in. The volunteers, Chef Tim and Redner's were phenomenal. I'd like to thank the MCs, Dr. Stout and Emily Koch, who was the Miss Philadelphia Teen 2024. She's one of our Wilson High School students. She was phenomenal. The media was there, singers, performers. It really was truly a great, spectacular event. And I know many of you in the room were there. So it's the pride of Wilson, one of the prides of Wilson, and to have the community come in. The families come in. There were people that didn't even have students, part of the community. It's just everyone was there. Oh, and Team Wilson won. It was the first type of event with done in this kind of a fashion. But Team Conrad Weiser was there. Team Governor Mifflin, and Team Wilson. So it really brought even more people outside of Wilson to playing host to all the community folks. So anyway, great event, and I just want to thank everyone that was involved. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Case.
If anyone else wants to share what their favorite part of the Iron Chef was, go right ahead.
The
Yes.
key lime pie ice cream was absolutely spectacular, and honestly, the best thing that I ate there were the brookies that were made by the Wilson culinary students. They were delicious, and I almost fell asleep because I was so full, like Mr. Case alluded to. I could not eat another bite.
Yeah, I'll just add for our family, it's a multi-generational event. My father was there, my nephew was there, my daughter was there, and it's something we look forward to every year. Again, it's some of the best of Wilson, so fantastic job.
Right, and I would just add, so the winner, B2, their dish looked like it was really literally from the Iron Chef, like the professional Iron Chef show. It was beautiful. So the price of a ticket was $20, and that dish itself could have probably cost $20. So for next year's event, I strongly encourage everyone to go. It's not just, there's nowhere else you can go for $20 and just literally stuff yourself. The magic or secret ingredient that everyone had to use was potato. So you filled up very quickly. So luckily, our family went down the bottom, like the bottom floor first, and kind of got the brookies and the ice cream and the little things, and then went upstairs for the potatoes. So I don't know if that was a good way to do it, but yes, we left very full. So I strongly encourage everyone to check it out next year. Thank you, Mr. Case. Technology Committee, Mr. McCray.
No report.
Student Outreach, Mr. Bryce Heilman.
Thank you. In the past 2 weeks, several awesome accomplishments have been achieved by students here at Wilson. Starting with sports, boys tennis beat Mannheim Central 5-0 last week. This week, several teams, including boys and girls lacrosse, boys volleyball, boys baseball, and track, all have upcoming games, with many being the first for their teams after spring training. Elementary schools across the district invited guest readers to celebrate Read Across America Week. Also, Wilson had 8 teams compete in BCIU's Connect STEM competition. This past weekend, a team from Wilson competed and won the Iron Chef competition, making shepherd's pie with the challenge of incorporating chocolate gold coins into their dish. Last weekend also, Wilson's Mini-Thon Club raised a historic $98,188.24, setting a new Wilson record to help those affected by pediatric cancer. Congratulations to all involved in this amazing accomplishment. This past weekend, Southern Middle School performed Matilda Jr., It was a great show full of entertaining and talented students. Also, last week, the high school auditorium saw its final event. The band and orchestra concert marked the final event to be held in the current auditorium, and students left their final mark by signing the stage before leaving for the last time. I can't wait to see how students close out March with even more amazing accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you, Race. Okay, Mr. Maravich, we do have public participation on a non-agenda item.
Okay. I'll read the rules pursuant to Sunshine Law, Robert's Rules, and Board Policy. The following are the rules of public participation. Individuals attending the meeting are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner. Public comment is not question and answer, but is instead an opportunity to offer comment on matters that are or may come before the board. The board or secretary asked that the comments be directed to the board as a body, as it's the board as a body that will need to vote on future matters. Clapping, calling out, or cheering is not permitted. The comment should be made from the lectern. It's 3 minutes. I'll provide a 1-minute warning. Any persons making threat of violence may be removed from the meeting or cited by local police. These expectations are outlined in Board Policy 903, which is on board docs on the district's website.
Thank you, Mr. Maravich. We have one public participant tonight, Jeffrey Berg, combating misinformation.
Hi, everyone. I feel like it's been a while. It's probably a good thing if you've followed my journey here, being active in the school. I've noticed a lot of misinformation recently, and I think it's really easy to get lulled into a false sense of security when it's quiet in this room here, which it has been, and that's a great thing. And just sitting here listening, I'm really glad I came because there's so many great things going on in the school, great programs. Coach Snyder being elected in the Hall of Fame, that's awesome. But I'm here to tell you that the people, there's only so many people that are hearing that. And that's the people that watch these meetings at home or actually come to the meeting and stay for the whole thing. There's a whole subset group of people that are on these toxic Facebook pages that don't hear any of the good things that happen at this school. And fair or not, I think it's the burden of combating that information falls on the sitting board members more than anyone else. Misinformation doesn't sleep. It works against us 24 hours a day, every single day. It's just the reality of the world we live in now. Some of you who recently got elected did a lot of great work building up an audience on social media. You connected with potential voters, and you talked about things that were going on within the school district, and I would really hate to see all of that relationship building go to waste. So I'm here to offer just a suggestion, and you can take it or leave it, but whether we like it or not, social media is a part of our world and our life, and it's the easiest way to communicate with people, especially a potential voting base. And I know that nobody wants to hear this, but there is an election coming up, a school board election. It's over a year away, but the work starts now. It's just, again, the world that we live in. Jennifer Denny did a great segment on her Facebook page called Facts Over Fear. It was a brilliant dismantling of certain lies that were being circulated, and circulated with ease. So I think that was a great place for people to go and see, hey, you know what? There's another side to this.
1 minute.
So a couple other suggestions. BSing with Bob. You had a great campaign slogan there. I think just doing a short handheld video on your phone once in a while, connecting people to what's going on, the positive things that are going on, the work that the board is doing. Story time with Pop McCree. Heart to Heart with Brad. Just working titles, you don't have to take them. But again, I just want to reiterate that the work to combat misinformation has to start now, because what's happening in these walls, great, love to hear it. The people that need to hear it aren't hearing it. They're just being fed toxic lies on these community Facebook pages that some of you may be aware of, and maybe you stay away from it, but I think it's a positive way to connect with potential voters and people in the district. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, that's the end for public participation. Any other business from the board? Mrs. Denny.
Oh, we've had a couple people mention Read Across America, which was last week, and I had the opportunity to read at 3 of our elementary schools. I signed up for a bunch because I love to read. I got a little giddy. I was like, ooh, opportunity to read. So, but I had some really great experiences that I wanted to share. I was in Spring Ridge, and it was one of the first times that I've gone through that building. And I know they had a bad roof leak that destroyed the library. Mrs. Schuler has done a great job in getting that library together. They're still waiting on a lot of books, but to have to rebuild an entire library, it actually made me sad when I heard about having to throw out all of these books. So she really deserves some recognition for that. I also had the chance to see some of the special education classrooms, and our district has, as I think I mentioned before, 1 in 5 students at Wilson is involved in some kind of a special education program, which is pretty significant. Our special education teachers are amazing, and these classrooms, I think if you haven't seen it, it's kind of hard to realize just everything that they're dealing with. And I think a lot of teachers that go into that specific field do it because they have a calling, because they have a gift. And this administration, this board supports those teachers. One of the things that's happened more recently is to move in more full-time aides. But I really want to encourage this community to continue to support that subset. It is a group of teachers that is hard to get, and it is a group that has very high burnout rates for obvious reasons. They're dealing not just with educating, but with all of the emotional and social and developmental issues that can come with especially some of the higher needs classrooms. And so I really want to encourage the school to continue to provide whatever support we need to make sure that we can obtain and retain those teachers and those aides. And then the last experience I wanted to share, which Mr. McCree is probably well aware of because he has a 3rd grade grandson at Cornwall Terrace, but the team over there is doing an amazing job. I had the opportunity to go into Mrs. Peterson's classroom, and she's received a certificate, and I can't remember exactly what it is, so I don't want to misstate it, but it's something that intertwines the classroom and nature and science, and they are doing incredible things. It is one of the few buildings that seems to have a little bit of extra space. So they turned an entire room into, it's a little room, but into a science lab. And if you're on Facebook, WEA did a posting on the last science lab, the one that I got to see, where it had to do with animals and their habitats, and it was kind of like a mini museum is the best way to describe it, because they had some sample different animals that you would find, in the desert and in the Arctic, and the kids were so proud to show it. And they transformed this whole room into this. And I got to see it on one of the last days because it's about to be re-transformed, because for the April 8th solar eclipse, they're now doing a whole new science lab in that classroom, and they're doing a whole day about the solar eclipse. She had a section of because they have a really big stairwell there, that they had turned in to learn about Native American studies and issues, where they highlighted famous Native Americans, and they looked at the streets in that area around Cornwall Terrace because they have a lot of Native American names. And it was done in a way, all of these things were done in a way that was just unique, and it was attention-getting, and it was the kind of thing that is out-of-the-box thinking that makes kids want to learn, especially something like science, which a lot of kids, I know when I was younger, I was like, oh, science. I kind of still say that sometimes, but I shouldn't, because it wasn't fun like that when I was in school. And the way they presented it was just, I just left there feeling so invigorated that these kids have all of these opportunities. And it was so clear that Mrs. Peterson and the rest of the 3rd grade team are invigorated and excited. They're doing a day in the wild or teaching in the wild later in April, just really neat stuff that I believe that Wilson is probably in the forefront of doing these kinds of programs. And so our kids are really lucky to have that. And I bet your grandson just tells you lots of wonderful stories. Thank you.
They're just not allowed to bring critters home.
Yeah, that's a good rule. Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Do we have any other discussion from the board? Dr. Schrickett?
Just to add on to Mrs. Denny, talking about amazing teachers, and as Bryce mentioned, we had 2 very busy weekends since the last time the board convened. One was our mini-thon, and the other was obviously yesterday at the Iron Chef. Those events are not possible without tons and tons of volunteers. So standing there last night, looking at just the array of volunteers that we had, many people that are here tonight, the teachers that invested 4 or 5 or even 6 hours to be here, to serve not only our kids and the work they're doing, but also our community. Mini-thon, again, that's a 12-hour dance-a-thon, yes, to raise money, but it's so much more than that. It's an opportunity for our students to engage in leadership activities for an entire year, which is culminated with the 12-hour dance-a-thon. But we had teachers here all night long, all night, giving up their time with their families to be here to be with our students. And I just want to take this moment to add on to Mrs. Denny's remarks, how incredible our teachers are. There are so many of them who are here tonight, hired quite a few, and Tori's still with us now, I believe. I think I see you back there. We could not do anything that we do here without our support staff, without our teachers, without great parents, our board, our administrative team, and just this amazing community. So just want to end my comments on that, just thank everyone for their willingness to be a part of it.
Thank you, Dr. Schreckett. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so moved.
Meeting adjourned.